What if the next swipe, the next bite, the next dopamine micro-hit is not harmless fun, but the prelude to the quietest form of slavery? Aldous Huxley whispered this danger nearly a century ago, sketching a future where comfort anesthetizes conscience, but where we trade the fury of authentic life for the tickle of artificial bliss. We assumed he was exaggerating, yet here we are, phones glowing at 3 a.m., algorithmic lullabies rocking us into a serenity that feels safe but costs vitality. Tonight we're staging a jailbreak, and in the next few minutes we'll pry open the pleasure machine, expose its gears, and decide whether we'll smash the console or reprogram it. I promise tension, because liberation always hurts before it heals. Picture a rat in a Skinner box, pressing a lever for sugar pellets. Now zoom out. That rat is US scrolling reels. Huxley's genius was to foresee a tyranny that doesn't whip or censor, it seduces. Brave new world. Citizens beg for their soma, never noticing chains because the manacles feel like silk gloves. The first philosophical dilemma hits before the 60-second mark. If we enjoy our servitude, is it still servitude? Pause your reflex to answer. Feel the discomfort. Part of you says no, pleasure is agency. But another part whispers yes, agency without awareness is illusion. That conflict is your retention hook. Stay until it resolves or tears you apart.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more topics you love.
Let's accelerate inquiry. Every pleasure has two faces, surge and shadow. The surge is the thrill of acquisition, like Miss Beast dropping stacks of cash from a helicopter. The shadow lurks when the thrill normalizes and baseline drops lower than before. Neuroscientists call this hedonic adaptation. Huxley called it civilized happiness. He warned the price would be creativity, courage, spiritual hunger. Ask yourself, when was the last time you felt bored enough to invent a game rather than consume one someone else coded? That gap measures your adaptation drift. At the 3-minute mark, we quote Huxley, "Men do not learn much from the lessons of history, and that is the most important of all the lessons of history." We re-engage by linking history with your notification bar. Rome fell not in battle, but in decadence. Likewise, personal empires crumble in couches, not crises. Each time you postpone a difficult task for instant comfort, you stage a miniature fall of Rome in your neural senate. It collapses silently, no barbarians at the gate, just potato chips in the pantry. Now, mid-video stakes ignite. Imagine two parallel lives. In timeline A, you indulge every craving, food apps, endless shows, retail dopamine, and your brain down-regulates receptors to maintain equilibrium. Pleasure becomes dull, so you crank dosage. Gourmet becomes bland. Friendships feel slow compared to curated drama. Timeline B, you practice intermittent abstinence, cold showers, device-free nights, silence retreats. Dopamine resets. Sunrise feels cinematic, tap water tastes sweet. But which timeline seems richer? Paradox, the one with fewer pleasures offers deeper joy. Huxley predicted this inversion. He would ask, do you want pleasure, or do you want the capacity for pleasure? They are not the same. Quick scene change, a cat mesmerized by a laser pointer thrashing, pouncing, never catching. That laser is algorithmic content, bright, frictionless, ungraspable. The cat's instincts are hijacked. Real prey would nourish, but the dot wastes energy. We laugh, then realize we're the cat, and someone else holds the pointer. sudden jolt? Who profits from your amusement? If the answer is not me, you've located the hidden tax on your lifespan. But secondary engagement at minute 6 demands a deeper probe pleasure as identity anesthesia. When discomfort surfaces heartbreak, insecurity, we self-medicate with micro-bliss. Over time we forget what the pain was trying to teach. Huxley feared a society where prophecy, art, philosophy wither because discomfort is numbed before insight forms. Ask a super deep question: which painful tension in your life are you smoothing over with small jolts of entertainment, thereby postponing the breakthrough that might redefine you? Sustained momentum kicks in as we dissect dopamine debt. Every spike borrowed from tomorrow's motivation accrues interest. That's why binge weekends birth Monday morning nihilism. With practical life advice: before indulging, set a repayment plan exercise, solitude, journaling that reinstates baseline. Otherwise, pleasure mutates into lone shark. Huxley would smirk: enjoy your candy, but remember the dentist. Let's orchestrate a wow spectacle no other channel replicates. Grab a notebook. Draw 2 columns, pleasure input and purpose output. Read for 24 hours, log every gratifying act and its aftermath. Did 2 hours of gaming yield new skills, stories, or friendships? If not, mark 0 output. That visual ledger slaps you harder than any sermon. When viewers run this audit, they DM astonished graphs, pleasure skyscrapers casting purpose in shadow. Approaching minute 9, we deliver Huxley's counter-weapon, controlled scarcity. He touted mind at large experiences, psychedelic or contemplative, that reset perception by temporarily cutting ordinary stimuli. You don't need mescaline. A silent dawn walk suffices. Strip senses of novelty for a day. Reintroduce a single flavor, sound, or text and watch delight roar back. Pleasure regained its fangs because you caged it first. Abrupt payoff arrives. The real ruin is not moral decadence but perceptual dulling. A life of constant treats narrows the dynamic range of awe until even miracles bore us. That's death before death. Huxley's ultimate warning isn't stop enjoying, it's stop outsourcing. Reclaim agency by engineering environments where pleasure serves growth instead of shackling it. Any algorithm that can't exploit your self-curated hunger loses leverage, and you become unmarketable in the best way. Parting dare: delete 1 convenience for 7 days streaming, sugar, social scroll, then document the withdrawal and the unexpected passions that surface. If boredom terrifies you, you've found your soma. Smash the vial, and the world may seem harsher, but your senses will resurrect. We start by holding a mirror to our most routine indulgence. 1 more scroll before sleep, 1 more cookie at the desk, 1 more harmless flirt in the DMs. But instead of judging, we trace the neural arc that lights up, spikes, crashes, and sneaks back for another round. Huxley's second warning is not about pleasure itself, it is about the autopilot it installs. He saw that the true enemy of freedom is not pain but numbness disguised as comfort. Imagine a misbead run through our habit loops. We compress decades of behavioral psychology into 3 minutes, time-lapse the reward pathway from anticipation to regret, and overlay it with economic utility curves that show diminishing returns. You can almost feel your frontal cortex groan under the weight of wasted potential. At the 180-second mark, we drop Huxley's quip: medical science has made such tremendous progress that there is hardly a healthy human left. Progress keeps us alive, Indulgence keeps us passive. Picture identical twins. The red line twin indulges every craving: food apps, endless shows, retail dopamine. The blue line twin practices periodic austerity: cold showers, device-free nights, silent walks. We chart their dopamine baselines. The red line sinks into anhedonia. The blue line pulses upward toward what neuroscientist Anna Lembke calls a dopamine reset. You suddenly realize the red twin is who you become on autopilot. Next comes the pleasure-pain seesaw. Every spike borrows motivation from tomorrow and demands an equal crash. To escape the crash, we trigger another spike, building a feedback loop powerful enough to rewrite our genes in a single generation. Huxley foresaw this in his world state, a caste system maintained not by force, but by calibrated hedonics. Now, a split-screen montage flashes modern parallels. Sugar hooks children before they can read. Infinite feeds adapt faster than our prefrontal firewalls. Pornography escalates novelty until intimacy feels dull. Between cuts, we slide in micro-habits. Remove short-form apps from the home screen. Switch your phone to grayscale. Fast from flavored drinks so water tastes sweet again. Neuroscience shows these simple acts expand the brain's pleasure aperture rather than shrinking it. At minute 5, I ask a brutal question. If an invisible scientist removed 80% of your quick dopamine hits, would you still have passion to propel a dream? Or would you collapse like a marionette with cut strings? Whatever answer surfaces reveals the state of your motivational savings account. But if it is empty, the next 90 seconds install your emergency fund. Choose one project that scares and excites you. Write a daily micro-commitment: 8 bars of music, 1 paragraph, 10 push-ups, and place it over the device you normally escape into. No indulgence until the task is done. You are not depriving yourself, you are swapping primary reinforcers and making meaning the new hit. At minute 6, we re-engage with Huxley's line that truth is a matter of the imagination. Marketing weaponizes imagination to breed passivity. Vision weaponizes imagination to breed agency. Close your eyes. Replay your last pleasure binge. Now watch that scene from the perspective of your future self, who cannot reclaim the wasted hour. Hear that elder voice speak one sentence of regret or gratitude. If you hear regret, let the sting redirect your trajectory. If you hear gratitude, keep the habit, it is life-giving. We distinguish clean pleasure from dirty pleasure. Clean activities raise energy, creative flow, shared laughter, time in nature. Dirty activities hollow you out, mindless streams, gossip loops, processed stimuli. Use a simple litmus test. If an act makes you reach outward or upward, it is clean. If it makes you retreat and crave another hit, it is dirty. To prove this, we run a heart rate variability test. 20 participants watch 30 minutes of algorithmic montage, HRV plummets, and they then spend 30 minutes woodworking. HRV rises and cortisol falls. The body is an honesty meter. No slogan can fake those signals. Huxley's essays on mystical experience note that peak awareness is preceded by voluntary friction, a pilgrim's fast, a monk's vigil, a writer's blank page. We issue a digital pilgrimage challenge: 48 hours with zero entertainment, replaced by micro-Sabbaths of silence. Viewers who accept post-epiphany timestamps, community momentum overtakes push notifications. The abrupt payoff arrives. The pursuit of pleasure ruins lives not because pleasure is evil, but because the chase is endless and the finish line keeps receding. When you voluntarily choose friction fasting, deep work, honest conversation, solitary walks, you feel invisible chains unclasp. Huxley was never anti-joy. He was pro-depth, pro-freedom, pro-humanity's ability to generate its own ecstasy without being farmed for clicks. I leave you with a final dare. Before midnight, engineer one deliberate friction skip dessert. Write in silence. Take a cold shower so your dopamine debt stops compounding today. There is no external bailout. Your deliberate pivot starts the repayment plan now. When we finally strip away the neon wrappers of quick bliss, when the phone is face down and the pantry door clicks shut with nothing hyperpalatable inside, but when we sit in a room so quiet we can hear our own hunger breathe, what rises first is not enlightenment, but restlessness. That noise in the chest, the twitch in the fingers, the brain barking for its usual biscuit, is the dragon Aldous Huxley wanted us to see. Most people negotiate with the dragon, a smaller biscuit, a bargain binge on the weekend, but bargaining merely teaches the beast to haggle. We are here to do something stranger and far more effective. We plan to ride it. Pleasure, properly harnessed, becomes jet fuel for creation. Improperly harnessed, it becomes quicksand that smiles. The difference is not morality, it is mastery, and mastery begins the moment we turn craving into curriculum. First, we rename boredom. We call it signal acquisition. In the absence of cheap thrills, the nervous system upregulates sensitivity, like pupils dilating in the dark. But colors saturate, ambient sounds sharpen, internal monologue once drowned by memes emerges with rough drafts of poems, business models, reconciliations. To capture these sparks, we carry a pocket notebook. Analog, no dopamine traps. Each page becomes a greenhouse where nascent insights sprout before algorithms graze on them. Within a week, the notebook bulges with ideas that feel self-generated instead of sponsored. Huxley would smile. This is mind at large, no longer corralled by big entertainment. Second, we build a pleasure budget. Just as Miss Beast allocates absurms with surgical accounting, we allocate hedonic currency with intent. We list the pleasures that expand US sunset runs, jazz improvisation, unhurried meals with people who tell the truth, and rank them by post-activity energy. But we also list the pleasures that shrink us: doom scrolls, processed sugar spirals, gossip tabs, and log their hidden costs: lost sleep, foggy focus, low-grade shame. At week's end, we balance the ledger. We cut half a unit of shrinking pleasure and reinvest the time into expanding pleasure or purposeful toil. The math compounds, the curve bends upward. Life tastes paradoxically richer on fewer treats because receptors are reset and consciousness is no longer collateral for someone else's revenue model. Now we address social gravity. A community habituated to constant sedation will resist anyone quitting the feed. Friends who view your phone-free evenings as betrayal, colleagues who mock your cold showers, ads that stalk you with treat yourself. Slogans: these are gravitational pulls trying to flatten your trajectory. 3. Stoic power demands pre-commitment shields. Before announcements, we script a single calm sentence. I've discovered I think clearer when I fill in the blank with your friction practice. Repeat it without defensiveness. Those ready to evolve will lean in. Those invested in stasis will drift. This quiet boundary, tested daily, inoculates resolve better than any motivational quote. Then comes the reclamation of ritual. Every civilization birthed ceremonies to transmute raw appetite into communal meaning: harvest festivals, coming-of-age trials, fasting seasons. Our algorithmic culture atomizes us, selling individual treats instead of collective rites. We rebuild by engineering micro-rituals with friends or family, a monthly tech Sabbath hike where phones stay in an envelope until summit, and a neighborhood potluck where ingredients must be foraged or homegrown, a writing circle that meets at dawn, trading pages before sunrise coffee. These shared frictions weld bonds deeper than group chats, replacing passive pleasure with earned camaraderie. Huxley feared a society where people felt together yet remained alone. Ritual is the antidote, stitching inner purpose to outer tribe. Halfway through this journey, we confront the deepest lure of pleasure, its ability to mask meaninglessness. If the evening is silent and the mind insists on stimulation, perhaps the day lacked narrative arc. The antidote is not another stimulant, it is storytelling agency. We draft a weekly quest log, video game style: main quest finish chapter 3, side quest cook a new recipe, secret quest give anonymous praise. Each completed quest releases natural dopamine tied to identity growth rather than identity avoidance. The brain cannot distinguish between a heroic saga and a well-structured week. It only knows that feedback loops anchored in progress satiate far longer than loops anchored in novelty. Thus, life becomes a narrative worth binging from the inside. At this stage, the dragon metamorphoses. Cravings still appear, but they arrive as consultants, not dictators. A sudden itch to binge a series might signal cognitive fatigue. The mastery move is to negotiate 2 episodes after I finish outlining tomorrow's pitch. Now pleasure is reward, not sabotage. So, it is the carrot dangled by your higher self to cajole present you through disciplined labor. Neuroscience supports this self-bribery. Pairing effort with anticipation of specific, time-boxed enjoyment keeps the striatum engaged without tipping into addiction. We ride the beast. It gallops in the direction we choose. We incorporate friction festivals, deliberate, time-bound intensifications that scrub dopamine receptors. A 24-hour water-only fast each month, a week each quarter without processed media, a year-end wilderness retreat with 0 screens. These spikes recalibrate threshold, making ordinary delights ripe fruit, long-form novel, genuine eye contact burst with primal satisfaction. People ask why your laughter sounds deeper, your attention feels undivided. You smile, knowing that scarcity sharpened your instrument. Now for the wow moment, we set up an experiment with 2 rooms. Room A has VR headsets, streaming exotic vacations. Room B is blank except for canvases, paint, and an open window over a gritty street. 50 volunteers rotate. Sensors show that after initial excitement, room A participants' brainwaves slide toward boredom. Cortisol ticks up as novelty fatigues. Room B participants, despite awkward starts, display rising alpha waves, indicators of flow, and exit with stained hands, excited chatter, plans to buy brushes. The takeaway is stark. Creation, not consumption, is the ultimate pleasure amplifier. Huxley's nightmare fades when citizens paint their own visions rather than plug into prefabricated bliss. We seal the practice with Stoic power. Every morning, before the world's temptations log on, we recite a brief memento mori. Life is finite, senses dull with time. What will we savor today that a numbed future self cannot? This reminder doesn't dampen joy, it gilds it. When the pastry is chosen after 6 days of oat porridge, it tastes like alchemy. When a film is watched on Friday after a week of deep work, the narrative penetrates marrow. Pleasure becomes a sacrament, not a syringe. Finally, we write a contract with ourselves. Pleasure will have its throne only after purpose is fed. The desire will be interrogated until it confesses whether it leads to expansion or contraction. Friction will be welcomed as initiator, silence as oracle, and boredom as compost for creativity. And every algorithm vying for our limbic attention must pass the toll of intentionality or be blocked at the gate. With that signed in ink, digital or literal, you step out the door lighter, senses bright, dragon purring under the saddle. And the world that once manipulated your cravings now feels like raw material for art. So we close where Huxley began, with a warning transmuted into a wager. If you gamble on endless comfort, the house, meaning the tech giants, the sugar lobby, the attention merchants, will win. If you gamble on disciplined awe, you may suffer withdrawal, mockery, moments of scorching solitude, but you will also taste a flavor of joy so unadulterated that even fear cannot counterfeit it. Ask yourself tonight, before the screen dims, which gamble honors the miracle of being conscious at all. Answer with an action before dawn, because theory is cheap, but a single morning run in the rain is priceless proof that fierce joy and stoic power are still on sale, costing nothing but the courage to pay in advance with discomfort, and paying dividends in a life no sedative could ever imitate.